of reaching 31,000 feet, which put it out of reach of most Japanese fighter aircraft. These aircraft dropped over 180,000 tons of bombs on Japanese targets. And we all know that the B-29, the Enola Gay, dropped the first atomic bomb on Hiroshima, and the B-29, the Boxcar, dropped the atomic bomb on Nagasaki, which ended the war. As the island hopping campaign progressed, airfields from which the B-29s would launch were established on Guam, Saipan, and Tinian. Japanese aircraft, radar, and communications on Iwo Jima were causing problems for our bombers operating out of the Marianas. The airfields on Iwo Jima allowed Japanese fighters to intercept the B-29s on their approach and their return from Japan. The Iwo airfields allow the Japanese to stage aircraft to conduct nighttime raids on the Marianas Islands. Additionally, the radars on Iwo Jima were able to warn the Japanese mainland of the bombing runs. Iwo Jima was not to be a staging field for the B-29s, but it did need to be secured to safeguard those bombing runs over Japan. Additionally, its airfields would serve as an emergency divert for disabled bombers returning from Japan. General Curtis LeMay was the commander of the 21st Bomber Command when the Marines invaded Iwo Jima. He changed his bombing tactics to nighttime low-level missions, which were extremely effective. The first took place while the Marines were fighting on Iwo Jima on the 9th of March 1945. Known as the Tokyo firebombing raid to the Americans and known as the Night of Black Snow to the Japanese, 334 B-29s dropped over 1,600 tons of bombs and annihilated 16 square miles of Tokyo. Iwo Jima is small. If you could raise your hand if you've flown through the Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. Okay. Iwo Jima is the size of 1/4 the Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport. Okay. If you've been to Manhattan, Iwo Jima is 1/3 the size of Manhattan. It's extremely small, as our veterans will attest. You can see Mount Suribachi, the highest point of the island, at 550 feet high. You can see that in the upper left corner of this image. At its narrowest point, the island is 800 meters wide, and at its widest point, it's 2.5 miles wide. The island is composed of volcanic rock, which created its infamous black sand beaches. I like this image of Iwo Jima because it adds a dimension of depth to the island. You can look out over Suribachi and you can see how the island fans out to the north. You can see the invasion beaches on the right. I think the veterans in the room will attest that when they saw Iwo Jima for the first time, it was not green like you see in this picture. After 74 days of bombing, the island itself at that time looked about dead. By February of 1945, the Japanese defenses on the island were substantial. This picture on the right-hand side is the now declassified intelligence annex to the invasion plan of Iwo Jima. And you can see in the next room, we have it full size in a frame. The emotional significance of an attack on Iwo Jima was high for the Japanese. This was the first time that Americans would launch an attack to seize a portion of the Japanese homeland. In June of 1944, the Emperor sent one of his sharpest generals to fortify the island. General Tadamichi Kurabayashi was dispatched from Tokyo, and he spent 8 months with over 21,000 troops. And keep in mind, 1/4 the size of the Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. 8 months and 21,000 troops preparing defensive positions. Due to the superiority of the American personnel and Navy shipping and the United States Marines,
Hurrah.
the general knew that he could not hold Iwo Jima. He knew that it was a delaying action. And he told his soldiers they were expected to die, and they were expected to die only after they've each killed 10 Marines. This is a picture of some of the prepared Japanese positions on Iwo Jima. General Kurabayashi had watched Allied invasions in 1943 and 1944, and he broke with the Japanese traditions of meeting the invading force on the beach. Rather than face the landings directly, he created strong, mutually supporting defenses in depth using static and heavy mortars, such as heavy machine guns, artillery, and lots and lots and lots of heavy mortars, rockets, and minefields everywhere. Armored tanks were used as camouflaged artillery positions. The expected American naval and air bombardment further prompted the creation of an extensive system of tunnels that connected prepared positions. Okay, keeping in mind, 8 square miles. A historian once wrote that the Marines were on Iwo Jima. The Japanese were in Iwo Jima. The Japanese dug over 11 miles of tunnels on the island, some of which were 75 feet deep. In these tunnels were command centers and barracks. Tunnels allowed the Japanese troops to move undetected between Japanese positions. Here is a sketch on the left made by Seabees of one of the hills on Iwo Jima that had been turned into a Japanese command post, Hill 362 Alpha. Dotted lines on the drawing show the Japanese tunnel system carved into the hill. The network and bunkers and pillboxes certainly favored the defense. For instance, one of the bunkers had enough food, water, and ammunition for Japanese defenders to hold out for 3 months. The bunker was 90 feet deep. Okay, we're on the 11th floor of the Marines Memorial Club right now, so I would expect we're probably about 110 feet high, would be my guess. I mean, 90 feet deep is extraordinary. Approximately 55-gallon drums filled with water, kerosene, and fuel oil for generators were located inside of these complexes. On this slide, you can see the Marine landing plan right next to the overhead image of the island. American forces assaulting Iwo Jima were led by Major General Harry Schmidt, commanding the 5th Amphibious Corps. His command consisted of the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th Marine Divisions. Vice Admiral Kelly Turner commanded 450 ships supporting the invasion. Keep in mind that the United States Navy today has approximately 430 ships, our entire Navy. 450 ships supported the invasion. In all, over 60,000 Marines participated in the assault on Iwo Jima. Our 23rd Marines was a part of the 4th Marine Division assault. The plan was to land 2 divisions abreast on the 19th of February, 1945. The 5th Marine Division would land almost 26,000 Marines to the south, and the 4th Marine Division would land almost 25,000 Marines to the north. This is an image of Task Force 51 prior to the invasion of Iwo Jima. The bombings and the aerial reconnaissance of the island began as far back as June of 1944. These would be the longest and the most intense in the Pacific Theater. There were 9 months of combined naval artillery shelling and aerial bombardment. D-Day dawned clear and bright on the morning of the 19th of February, 1945. The first wave of Marines landed 1 minute early at 08:59. This is an image of the Marines coming out of their landing craft. welcome surprise to the landing force was the degree of soft black volcanic sand that covered the beaches. The sands of Iwo Jima, made famous by a 1949 movie, made progress beyond the beaches extremely difficult for the Marines and the sailors carrying their heavy equipment. After crossing the beach, they were faced with slopes of black volcanic ash, some of which were over 15 feet high. This allowed for neither secure footing nor the ability to dig fighting positions to protect themselves from the hostile fire. This is a photo taken of Green Beach on D-Day +1. The Japanese defenders waited for the landing craft to clobber the beachhead and the Marines to mass in the thick black sand before they unleashed the majority of their indirect fires. An author, Robert Leckie, wrote a book about Iwo Jima, and I really appreciated reading one of his quotes. And I'm going to read it to you briefly as it describes what a veteran explained to him as